Stress is not the enemy, loss of control is. The military learned this lesson the hard way, not through theory, but through failure. In moments where weapons were ready, plans were solid, and intelligence was accurate, missions still collapsed. The reason was never lack of strength. It was stress turning inward. In 2014, during a prolonged counterinsurgency operation, a command unit began showing signs of mental degradation. Sleep was limited, decisions stacked, pressure never lifted. No single moment caused the breakdown. Stress accumulated silently. Orders became rushed. Judgment narrowed. Communication fractured. The enemy didn't defeat them, stress did. That failure changed military psychology forever. Instead of asking how to fight stress, the military began asking how to weaponize it. Civilians treat stress as something to escape, something harmful, something that must be reduced or avoided. The military takes a different approach. Stress is information, and information can be used. Stress floods the body with chemicals designed for survival. Adrenaline sharpens focus, cortisol mobilizes energy, norepinephrine heightens awareness. These reactions are not mistakes, they are tools. The problem is not stress itself, the problem is who controls it. In untrained minds, stress hijacks attention. Thoughts accelerate, emotion dominates, logic retreats, the brain enters survival mode. That mode is powerful, but primitive. The military does not eliminate survival mode, it commands it. Psychological warfare traditionally focuses on the enemy, deception, disruption, confusion. But the most important battlefield is internal. If stress controls the soldier, the enemy doesn't need to. It's outmaneuvered. During advanced training, soldiers are deliberately pushed into high-stress states without physical danger. Noise, time pressure, uncertainty, not to break them, to observe what stress does to the mind. Instructors notice something critical. Stress always follows the same pattern. First, attention scatters. Then, emotion intensifies. Then, imagination fills gaps with threat. Finally, the mind loses authority. The military decided to interrupt this pattern. Not at the end, but at the beginning. This is where military psychological warfare begins. Not against opponents, against stress itself. Soldiers are trained to recognize the arrival of stress before it escalates. The subtle signs, the tightening chest, the shallow breath, the racing internal dialogue, these signals are not warnings, they are invitations. Instead of reacting, soldiers shift perspective. Stress becomes a signal to slow down, not speed up. This reversal changes everything. A special operations planner once described it simply: when stress shows up, I stop listening to my thoughts. That decision prevents stress from gaining momentum. Stress feeds on mental narration. What if? What's next? What could go wrong? The military cuts the narration. Under stress, soldiers narrow attention deliberately, not to outcomes, not to fear, to immediate control, position, breathing, posture, reality. This grounding pulls the nervous system out of panic and back into control. Stress loses its leverage. One reconnaissance soldier described being pinned down during a surveillance mission. Time slowed. Thoughts raced. He felt stress rising sharply. Instead of forcing action, he reduced mental input. He observed, waited, breathed. Later he said, "Stress wanted me to rush. Well, I refused." That refusal saved the mission. The military understands a critical truth. Stress wants urgency. Urgency collapses strategy. By denying urgency, soldiers deny stress its power. Psychological warfare against stress also involves predictability. The brain panics when it doesn't know what's coming. The military trains soldiers to expect disruption. Nothing is assumed to go smoothly. When chaos arrives, surprise is removed. Stress weakens. A veteran commander once said, "The unexpected only shocks people who expected comfort." Expectation neutralizes stress. Another tactic is reframing. Stress convinces the brain that danger is imminent. The military reframes stress as readiness, not threat, energy. When soldiers reinterpret stress chemicals as fuel rather than danger, the emotional response changes. Fear transforms into alertness. This does not happen through motivation. It happens through conditioning. Repeated exposure trains the brain to associate stress with competence rather than collapse. Over time, stress loses its emotional charge. This is why experienced soldiers appear calm. They are not immune to stress. They are familiar with it. The military also uses temporal compression to defeat stress. Stress exaggerates time. Moments feel longer. Decisions feel heavier. Soldiers counter this by shrinking time. They think in seconds, not futures. When the future disappears, stress loses its narrative. There is no catastrophe to imagine, only action. In military psychology, this is called present dominance. The present moment overrules imagined outcomes. A combat medic once described treating wounded soldiers under fire. "If I thought about survival," he said, "I would freeze." So he focused on procedure, step by step. Stress retreated. Stress cannot compete with structure. The military also denies stress identity. Stress does not mean weakness. It does not mean failure. It means engagement. This prevents shame. Shame compounds stress. The military removes it. Soldiers are never told to calm down. They are told to execute. Execution restores control. Civilians often attempt to fight stress emotionally. They argue with it, resist it, fear it. The military accepts stress as part of operation. Acceptance removes friction. One intelligence officer once said, "The moment I stopped fighting stress, it stopped fighting me." Psychological warfare against stress also includes after-action separation. Emotion is delayed, not suppressed. During operations, emotion is compartmentalized. Afterward, it is processed. This prevents emotional overload during performance. Stress becomes temporary, contained. This containment protects long-term mental health. Stress that is expressed at the wrong time becomes trauma. Stress that is controlled becomes experience. The military also understands stress contagion. One panicked individual spreads stress instantly. This is why leaders maintain calm expression. Calm is infectious. In crisis, the calmest person sets the emotional tone. This is not personality. It is responsibility. Military leaders know that controlling their own stress is a form of psychological warfare. It stabilizes the entire unit. This is why voices lower during chaos, why movements slow, why commands shorten. The environment mirrors leadership. Stress feeds on chaos. Order starves it. In everyday life, stress operates the same way. Deadlines, conflict, uncertainty. The mind reacts identically. The military approach does not remove stress from life. It removes stress's authority. Stress becomes a background signal, not a commander. A retired general summarized it quietly: "We never defeated stress. We outranked it." That is military psychological warfare, not suppression, not avoidance. Dominance. Stress still appears, but it no longer decides. This is why military minds outperform others under pressure. They do not resist stress, they use it. And yet, even stress can be outmaneuvered further. There is one final doctrine, used only by elite units, that turns stress into complete mental silence, a system that shuts down internal noise entirely. That story comes next.